and welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for Monday, April 27th, 2015. Today we are recording at MappedIn headquarters. Spoiler alert, we have a guest this week. It is a gentleman here from MappedIn who will introduce in just a second. But first, let's introduce ourselves, the hosts. My name is Darren Conley. I'm a local tech entrepreneur here in Kitchener-Waterloo. And with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, fellow entrepreneur, Stephen Campbell. How are you today, Stephen?
What's happening? We're high above Kitchener today. We're in like a bird's nest with a lot of glass.
Yep.
We can see the tannery building, and it's really neat.
The tannery building is the famous building that houses Communitech and Velocity Garage and many of the startups that just get started here.
Google,
right?
before they move across the street still, I guess.
Yeah,
is there.
Google's still over there, Desire to Learn. So
we're in one of MappedIn's office rooms. It's got the coolest glass table I've seen in a long time. It's the shape of a pin that you would drop on a map. And the room is making me feel very creative. It's bright orange.
Yeah, I think orange is the color of creativity.
It is. I'm ready to do some brainstorming.
I'm feeling more creative already.
Any second
I was
now.
about to say creativer. Maybe I'm making up new words. That just shows my
Your creativity meter is off the charts.
Awesome. Well, let's introduce our guest here. Joining us today is Mr. Mitchell Butler, who is the Chief Operating Officer and occasionally Chief Product Officer here at MappedIn. How are you today, Mitchell?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Excellent.
Our pleasure.
No, awesome. It's our pleasure. Absolutely. I was just noticing you got like the Nerf guns and stuff over here. I think I've been in like 5 different startups offices that have Nerf guns.
Oh, you can notice that they're locked away too.
Oh, yes, right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So maybe the time for nerfing is only at prescribed times. I don't
Someone
know.
just came on and he requested a Nerf gun as his signing bonus.
Oh, okay.
So I think they might come back out.
Gotcha.
I got to say, in all the office wars so far, I would say that Igloo Software has the biggest armada and armory that I've seen.
Sure.
They had some huge Nerf weapons.
We should be
there.
tracking when we visit different startups whose like Nerf arsenal is, what it's like compared to the other ones. But I just think it's funny. Like there was some memo that went around to the tech startup world saying, buy Nerf guns. This is the thing, right? Anyway, that's cool. There's air hockey and stuff here too, which is also
really neat. Neat open office.
Yeah.
Well, in the garage, Nerf guns are your self-defense plan. So.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, got to watch your back, man. In this world, this tech startup world. Well, let's talk a little bit about MappedIn. Mitchell, can you just give us the quick kind of 1-minute overview of what MappedIn is and what you guys do here?
Sure. So, I mean, we do a bunch of different things for a bunch of different types of customers.
Sure.
But in general, what we do is we create a digital model of a building. So a digital model of a venue. And it's essentially looks like a 3D map with a bunch of data points on it.
Okay.
And those data points, in the case of a mall, for example, a lot of our customers are malls, they could be anything from what a visitor might be looking for, like, which stores are having sales right now? Where are my favorite stores in this mall? What types of stores are there here? But it could also be something that a leasing manager might be interested in, like where are the vacancies here? Or what types of stores tend to do well in this type of vacancy? From that model, we can have venue owners and managers manage all of this data. So it's more collaborative. Right now, they have this type of data across maybe 10 different maps. But with our platform, they just have it in one place. So there's one list of all the locations in the venue. That list is always synced. It's always up to date for everyone. No one needs to waste time and cause confusion asking each other, what's the most recent list of locations in the venue.
Okay.
Beyond that, we also have tools to deliver that. So we have powerful web APIs. We have great mobile SDKs. And we also have out-of-the-box solutions like the kiosk and mobile app that we're really well known for.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say the kiosk is kind of the thing that I most readily identify with MappedIn because we've seen around town here in Kitchener-Waterloo a bunch of venues that are making use of MappedIn kiosks. I think Conestoga College has them. And,
they sure do.
And is it Conestoga Mall for sure?
Yeah, Conestoga Mall was our first customer.
Oh, okay. And any of the other malls around too yet, or moving into those?
Only the cool malls, really.
Nothing directly around here. Lots in Toronto.
Okay.
We had a little bit of exclusivity with Conestoga Mall at the beginning because they were our first customer and they were so supportive with us.
Sure.
But yeah, beyond that, I mean, a lot of the malls in Toronto. The one that comes to mind to me all the time, because I see it quite a bit, is 10 Dundas in Dundas Square.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And yeah.
And that's like, something I think that most people can readily identify with is finding the map spot in the mall to try to figure out where the nearest whatever store is that you want to go to, right? And and now you guys are kind of taking over that space, or seemingly taking it over.
Yeah, I mean, on the consumer end, that's how people know us right now.
Sure, absolutely.
So walk me through that story. So I'm going to 10 Dundas, and I don't know where the shoe store is. So I used to go up to sort of the big piece of paper behind glass, which would be lit behind it, and say, okay, there's a shoes category or an apparel category. Find A12, then I have to look on the map and find it. And now what you guys have done is I can walk up, and it's an interactive touchscreen so that I can very quickly find the store that I want. And then I can even sort of transfer that from that stationary location to my phone, and then I'm off to the races and walking towards the shoe store. Is that a correct user story?
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects that are improved from using a piece of paper. One of them is that you can quickly drill down by category.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you just tap a category, instead of seeing every single location in the mall, now you've narrowed down to maybe 30 or 40 different locations, and you can quickly visually find it. So speed is definitely something.
Right.
And then also we give you turn-by-turn directions. And so you know which stores to turn at, which ones to look out for, which direction to go on the map. And we actually draw paths right on top of it. And then exactly like you said, you can just sync that to your phone, take it with you. If there's more than 4 or 5 directions, that's probably something you'll want to do. Yeah. And you just take it on our mobile app or on any mobile app that's built using our SDKs.
That's awesome.
And what happens once it comes onto the phone, once I have it in your app, is it going to guide me like step by step through the entire mall to my actual location, or is it just going to be like a reference map that I can look at? Or
you just swipe through direction by direction, and it'll show you every single one and walk you through your trip.
So I can follow, like, walk to the end of the hall and turn left, swipe to the next direction, walk 4 stores down, and it's on your right or whatever. Okay, very cool.
That'd be really interesting if you could almost come in and say, I'm looking for a specific product. Right. Instead of a store, right? And then you would be able to say, here's 3 stores that carry it.
But that's like a whole gigantic product database.
I want it to tell me what pair of shoes to buy, not just what store to go to. It'd be so much easier for me.
Maybe that's something they can integrate with down the road,
nudge.
Right?
Yeah, we've thought of it. We've looked at, especially if we're working with just one retailer. Like we also do retail stores, not just full malls.
Sure.
And there we would be mapping on a department level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I could walk into Walmart and find
the barbecues or something.
Yeah. Right. The thing that they need is a good product database. They need good inventory, and they also need something that links all of their inventory to which aisle it's in. And that's something that a few people like Canadian Tire and a few others are working on.
Right.
But it's something that it hasn't become ubiquitous yet. And it looks like from the landscape there's going to be multiple solutions.
Right.
So we'd have to integrate with all of them to actually cover an entire mall.
What's it like working with some of the partners, like when you approach the mall or the hospital with this sort of broad strokes, big grand idea to help them map out and have a visitor experience that's improved and provide some analytics? What's that conversation like?
It's really changed. When we started, it was, we had to define the entire solution, and we also had to define the problem.
Right.
We had to say, look, this is what people are getting right now from your paper directory, and this is what they want. And, when I select a store or I select shoes, not only do I want to see all the stores there, but I want to see which ones are having promotions. And you can't currently do that.
Yeah.
So, here are a bunch of problems that your tenants are facing, and here's one really simple way that you can solve that.
So it's kind of a mix of an existing pain and a little bit of vision, too, to say, look, we can solve this pain, and look at how cool it could be, too.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's changed because now there are teams on their, within their organization that are specifically given the operative to digitize the venue, digitize the mall. And they might not know exactly what that looks like or what that means, but we can then go and define the solution for them, but we don't have to outline the problem anymore. It's very kind of widely seen now in the market.
Sure. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording about indoor location tracking and how MappedIn isn't necessarily developing products in that space quite yet, but your product could integrate in the future with some of that. But you guys do seem to be kind of on top of developments in that area. What can you tell us about how indoor location stuff is developing, because I think this is a technology that a lot of consumers are really interested in. We want to be able to, have something guide us step by step through an airport or a hospital or a shopping mall or these big spaces that are unknown to us, and have some of those more interactive features like Stephen was talking about with going to a store with a particular product or promotion. So is this a technology we're going to see in the near future, or is this still something that's years off, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, something should come around within the next 2 to 3 years that should look quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it's going to be the final iteration of whatever's going to come out, it has yet to be seen.
Sure.
We're a part of a group called the In Location Alliance right now, and that group is kind of tasked with finding the solution to this, and a lot of big phone providers, a lot of really great technology companies are working on this type of technology.
Sure.
We think that it's going to be some mix of a chip that knows roughly your location, and your just accelerometer. It's decent enough right now that you can walk into most buildings and it'll track you for the first 30 or 40 steps.
Okay.
After that, it starts to get lost again.
Yeah.
But with at least some degree of accuracy, bringing that point back on the map, that blue pin that everyone knows and everyone sees on all the mapping applications.
Now, when you say a chip, you're talking about a chip that would be embedded in your mobile device?
Yeah.
Or not something.
Or in your arm?
Yeah, I was going to say something implanted in my forehead or my wrist or something. But yeah,
you're not scared of that?
It depends what kind of value it offers me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's surprising to me that you would go forehead, that's the spot you would put your chip, is on your forehead. Of all the spot chips on your body, you're going forehead.
You never know. I mean, maybe that wouldn't be my first choice. Yeah, fair enough.
When your wife opens the door to tinker with the brain, the chip's right there. It's easy to replace the fuse, I guess, right?
Fair enough. That's true. Now, I know there was a lot of talk, and I went to a presentation here maybe a year ago in Kitchener on the Apple iBeacons. And people were kind of hyping up how iBeacons are going to make this big splash in retail, especially things like this. But then I never heard anything more about them. Do you know anything about how, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, retailers can just be slow to adopt. There's a lot of pilot programs going on with iBeacon right now.
Okay.
It looks promising. I think just Bluetooth in general is probably a good way to do what we call proximity rather than positioning. So proximity just means, hey, you're near this thing.
Right.
And so people use that for something called geofencing, where you kind of draw this square, this circle on the map and say, when someone walks within here, then keep track of it, or maybe send them a promotion or something that they might be interested in.
Right.
Or even if someone's following the directions and they walk in a circle that they shouldn't be walking in if they're following the directions properly, just let them know. So there's lots of cool applications of iBeacon, but it's just slow to adopt.
Do you think there's any applications for MappedIn working with beacon technology?
We've done it before. We've worked with some groups who have used our SDK to implement even something that tries to resemble positioning. Yeah. It's just not perfect yet, and it's very expensive for the venue.
I wonder something where if it can track your proximity to your kiosks, then it can kind of tell like you're moving from this one to that one. Or I guess it depends how far it can track and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah. I'm just really anxious for a working model of that technology to kind of hit the market. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So we've talked a lot about your product because it's so cool and we're so excited about it. But can you bring us back a little bit to how the heck you got to be inviting two podcasters in to sit at a glass table overlooking Kitchener?
How did you arrive at this pinnacle of
bright
success?
orange, cool room with a cage of Nerf guns right beside us? What's the genesis for MappedIn? How did you guys start? And give us a little bit of the history.
So we incorporated in 2011. So we've been around for a little while.
Okay.
We were one of the first companies out of the the Velocity Residence.
Okay.
So a lot of people know the Velocity Garage and the Velocity Foundry.
Yep.
There's also a residence on the U Waterloo campus. I don't know if either of you guys have seen
sort of a medical focus. Is that
We've
one?
heard of it. No, that's the Velocity Science is another thing. Right?
Okay, that's the fourth.
Yeah, that's a fourth one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Velocity Residence. My understanding is that it's kind of a like early stage, like people who want to do entrepreneurial stuff but might not even have an idea of what it is. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we were living on campus. Myself, Hong Wei, and a few other people were all part of the.
Hong Wei,
Hong Wei Liu is the CEO, and he's my co-founder.
Gotcha.
So myself, Hong Wei, and a few others were all living in the Velocity Residence. I think it fits about 70 people, and there's all kinds of great amenities, and that's why a lot of people are drawn to it. But then they actually become drawn to startup, and there are talks, or at least there used to be, every Monday night where someone who had started a startup would come in and they'd talk to you about it, and they'd get you really excited and revved up about it. And you would do your product weekend where you come up with an idea and you start to build some kind of solution around it.
Yep.
Right.
And that's really where the first iteration of MappedIn came out of.
Okay.
We just did one of these product weekends. We figured out what we wanted to do. Our idea was generally summed up as Google Maps for indoor places.
Yep.
Okay.
And since then, obviously, Google Maps has their own iteration of Google Maps for indoor places.
Right.
And we're doing something much more kind of private and sold directly to the venue. But, we kept moving from there. We eventually won the Velocity Venture Fund.
Now, hold on. How big was the
Sure.
team when you guys first started?
Just two?
During the product weekend, there was 5 of us.
Okay. And are all of those people still involved, or?
No, just myself and Hongwei.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And okay, so you have a team of 5. It eventually gets whittled down to 2. But you say you won a competition, or what was it?
We won
Yeah.
the Velocity Venture Fund. So
Okay.
when we first started out, they weren't giving out the Velocity Venture Fund. Have you heard of it before?
We've heard of it. Yeah.
The
Okay.
VVF.
The
Yeah.
VVF, exactly. So they'll give, I think it's to, I don't know what the fund is now, but at the time it was 4 different companies, maybe even per term, would get something like $25,000. That's what
Okay.
we got.
Yeah.
And
Which is a bunch of money for
It's-
university students doing a
Yeah.
startup. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's enough to really get started.
Yep.
And what we used it for was actually to buy 2 kiosks,
Okay.
get them shipped down from California, and put them in Conestoga Mall.
Wow.
Neat.
And so they were our first customer within, maybe 6 months of starting to put something together.
Sure.
We had an actual physical footprint, and that was major.
And how did you get that? Like Steven asked before, like how did you even have that conversation with Conestoga Mall? It's not like you can just stroll into the mall and say, "Hey, we got a kiosk. Can we stick this
You'll
somewhere?"
never guess what just got here from California.
That's right. Did you guys have some connections that were introductions were made for you, or how did that work?
We knew some people at Communitech.
Okay.
We were working after we worked in the Velocity residence, and there's some like a boardroom in there and some little places you can work.
Yep.
We started working out of Communitech, and we were working in, I don't know what it is now, but it used to be the early stage startup area in the
Yeah.
back there.
Okay.
So we were working out of Communitech, and we had some really good mentors, and we had some people who were getting us a few intros.
Yeah.
And Conestoga Mall just happens to be very forward thinking. They really took a chance, and it's worked out well for them. We've put in more kiosks,
Wow.
just for them and as a Christmas gift and things like that. So,
Having a powerful early adapter is so key to a lot of the stories we've heard.
Early-
Somebody gets behind
Early
you.
adopter.
Adapter, yes.
It's all the same.
I need adapters at home, actually. I have monitors on the brain.
Sure. No, it's good. So it was somebody at Communitech who made that connection for you guys, is what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, they made the
Yeah.
connection, but Hongwei first and foremost made the sale.
Okay. Fair enough.
So the sale came before the order from California.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we're not that crazy.
Yep, good.
That's the thing. I think a lot of people who are in early stage startups or who have dreaming about doing a startup don't know how to bridge that gap between I have this idea, we've run some numbers and everything else, but now we want to make a sale to somebody who is a fairly large group.
Yeah.
How do we get our foot in the door to do that, right? And certainly having, I think, friends in high places and support like that to make those introductions goes a long way, right? So,
Well, that, and I'd prefer to do it in this community than any other, for sure.
right. And what makes you say this community? You think they're just generally more open to things
People
like
are
this?
open to
Yeah?
technology. They're supportive of startups. There's just
Wow.
something about KW that is that way.
That's awesome.
KW does have some cool companies around.
It does, absolutely. So you get a few kiosks put in Conestoga Mall. That's great. And then what happens then? Everything works perfectly right out of the box. What's the part
orders
of
come
what part of
flying
the story
in?
happens next? Yeah.
Well, so we sat in front of the kiosks in Conestoga Mall in the food court for, I don't know how long, at least 2 or 3 months after installing them.
Wow.
Just developing, watching people use them, changing the way that they were set up. And we actually went through, I think, 3 or 4 different iterations in
Right.
those first 2 or 3 months.
And so when you say sat in front of them, that's like all day, every day, you got somebody sitting there watching how people
Talking
use
white
it?
lab coat and a clipboard.
Not all day, every day, though it really felt like that. I think we were probably there 4 or 5 hours, and then we'd go back to the office and work.
Wow.
But, the first month it was out of necessity because the kiosk kept going down.
Right.
And then after that, it was more or less just out of, really seeing the value in what we got in the first month and really wanted to keep doing that.
And were you able to ask customers after they used it or while they were using it, like, how did you find the experience?
Yeah, we did a little bit of that. We even recruited some people for a little survey in the mall. Mm-hmm. We had some high school students doing a survey there, so that was really good.
Now, people talk about how early in the early phase of a startup, it's all about collecting data, right? Getting the user feedback and
fail fast.
Yeah, that's right. And it's cool that you guys were able to kind of have such ready access to that user data, right? It's not like you had to go out and find an agency to do focus groups or something on your product.
That would
just sit in the mall, right?
Yeah, that would have been grueling.
Yes.
And it's interesting because with the internet, you just get sort of these cold analytic facts. Like we had this many visitors, this many click-throughs, this many dropouts. But when you're standing there, it must have been hard to be like, just click. How do you not? Just, just stand there, just be quiet, and let them struggle with it, or and see that feedback instead of just cold facts.
And see the look on their face, whether they're frustrated or whether they have that kind of oh, this is a magic
really
screen.
Neat. Yeah.
I think the most sobering part of that experience was the people who didn't even realize that it was a touch screen.
Right.
And that was how do you even think about that when you're designing just an interface on a computer and you're not really thinking about this is a whole hardware unit, it's sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be perceived in some way.
Yeah, so they miss out on the whole thing, eh?
Well,
Yeah.
did you have to then integrate something that says touch the screen or touch here to get people to do it?
Yeah, a lot of movement is really good. You can't make things as kind of minimal as you do on the web.
Right.
Buttons have to be bigger, they have to look like buttons and things like that. Mm-hmm. So
interesting.
yeah.
It's like a huge iPad.
Yeah, that's right. That you have to invite people to touch. Yeah.
Maybe as they walk by, a motion sensor like Disney World says, "Hello, you can." Yeah, no, we don't want to.
Maybe you don't want to.
We don't want to say you can touch me.
Yeah, you don't want to Disneyfy MappedIn. If I can use that as a term. See,
I'd
my
like to
creativity
officially
is
withdraw
still
that
working.
comment.
Yeah, no, that's great. Listen, let's just take a quick break here to talk about our sponsor before we get any farther. Farther. I always get those words mixed up.
You guys are just doing that for my mix-up earlier. I appreciate it.
I think
Thanks
it is.
very much.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Igloo Software.
Igloo Software. So Igloo has been sponsoring us for about a month now, and we had the opportunity to walk into Igloo's offices 3 or 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, and meet some of the employees there, see what their space was like, have a demo of their product.
Be startled by their mannequin.
They have a mannequin that greets you when the elevator doors open, and it kind of freaks you out. But anyway, what were your impressions, Steve?
I loved the culture. Was the first thing I want to talk about. Is everybody was so friendly and so open and warm to sort of receive us. The coffee machine I wanted to mention was unbelievable. As a big coffee, breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of a person, I was amazed that they've been able to brand their coffee machine. So they have different releases of their product. So they had a Viking release and they had a Viking blend and some very interesting. Like I would love to be in the brainstorming team to think of the different coffee blend names that we're going to do. Stuff like that just seemed like it was really fun, and the whole team was engaged in that. And the coffee was awesome.
Now, and we should mention, for those who are wondering, Igloo's product is they make an intranet solution. Intranet, not internet, intranet, for small, medium, and large businesses. If you want to have a way to have your inter-office communication and project management and all that sort of thing, it's a wonderful product. You can try it out online at igloo.com.
/TSP or something.
That's right. And
we should really solid that up a little bit.
We're still spontaneous. We don't even remember the website.
Yeah, what are?
If you do a search for Igloo Software, I'm sure it'll come up. But anyway, we had a great time visiting them. If you're looking for a place to work and you're got some skills in the tech sector, then please check out their website, and they're looking to hire new talent. So it'd be great to come on board. And if you're looking for an intranet solution, then they're well worth checking out as well.
Yes, they did have the sniper Nerf gun.
Right.
Their Nerf arsenal was huge, and they had a huge box of Viking shields and armor and swords. Because they talk about sort of on Fridays, sometimes they will just raid other departments.
Right.
So that sounds awesome.
Sure.
Drink coffee and raid other departments.
Yeah.
And, all on the intranet.
Yeah, of course. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, enough about Igloo. Let's get back to MappedIn.
Awesome.
Thanks for being patient with us, Mitchell.
Oh, no problem. I can see your notes, and I like how you have this big square saying,
remember to do Igloo spot. Yeah, it's because on our previous podcast, we got pretty far into it before I was like, oh, damn it, we haven't talked about the sponsor yet.
And Nadia kept us on our toes for sure. So
Yes,
we were so entertained.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Viking gear here. You guys, I guess, don't do a lot of pillaging.
No, but we try to get anything orange that we see anywhere.
Okay.
I love it.
So you can see all the orange going on.
Yeah,
and if you do want to do some pillaging,
Yeah.
MappedIn can help you find the quickest route
that's
to
right.
the villages.
to optimal pillage points.
Yes, optimal pillage points, yes.
Yeah, inside a space, right? They're typically indoor spaces.
Right.
But yes.
In a mall.
Yeah, mall pillage.
Yes, straight to the shoes.
Please do not quote us on any of this stuff, and we do not speak on behalf of MappedIn whatsoever. Just for legal purposes, we'll throw that out. Okay, so back to the story. You've got some stuff in Conestoga Mall. You've done a whole lot of research, several months, 4 or 5 months, I think you said.
Yep.
And so what happens after that? You, I guess, have plans to expand beyond just one mall.
We totally did.
So how does that happen? How do you start acquiring other customers and other users?
Past your early adopters.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the few customers after that I would still consider early adopters.
Okay.
We started building out the team, and so we brought on some really great people from around here. We had lots of good co-op students and things like that. And I think the team grew pretty quickly to about 5.
Okay.
And stayed at 5 for a little while. And we had Desmond Choi, who you interviewed earlier for Spark Gig.
Yes,
What's up,
that's right.
Desmond?
Shout out to Desmond.
Uh-huh.
And he was our marketing manager at the time. So,
And a Dragon's Den expert.
yeah,
Yes.
so he got us onto Dragon's Den, which was pretty exciting. So he and Hong Wei went on there, pitched the product, pitched a little bit about what we do, who we are, our story, where we're coming from. And, we really got a lot of engagement from them. I think all 5 of them were ready to say yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
They shook hands with 3 of them. And at that, it's kind of a blur, but at that time we had also already been talking to Esri Canada.
Okay.
And Esri is like the Microsoft of mapping. They're like, if you're going to do what we do for indoors and you're going to do it outdoors, go to Esri.
Gotcha.
These are the guys who are doing it. So like lots of governments and things like that actually buy their product.
Yeah. And how did Esri find out about you guys?
It was
Podcast, probably, right?
It was someone who was working fairly high up at Esri and was looking at kind of strategic investment that they could make.
Okay.
And we were there first.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
And
it was really exciting. There
You're
was
on the
chocolate
radar
milk.
somewhere.
Yeah.
There was chocolate milk at the signing ceremony. It was very
Awesome.
impromptu and
great.
awesome.
Perfect. So
So they just made sense for you as an investor more than possibly the Dragons.
Yeah,
Because
so-
they're in the industry, they're the
space.
experts. They're
Yep.
Yeah, we were offered the same deal from both sides.
Okay.
And it was just obvious to us who we should take.
Right.
It's interesting
right.
that that's the same deal.
Right.
You didn't try to tweak it at all or get an extra percentage or I don't know.
Yeah.
The same deal. So neat.
Yeah, that is neat. And I guess it's better to kind of, in this case, get the Dragon upset with you rather than getting Esri upset with you because they're actually in the industry, right?
Right.
So, yeah, whereas the Dragons are like, what, Boston Pizza and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we won't be mapping any Boston Pizzas in the near future.
Yeah, they would
Fair
see it
enough.
as a missed opportunity, not
Yeah.
go out to kill and squish you.
Right. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
strategic in 2 ways, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
there you go. Fair
Defense is
enough.
a good offense.
So that's awesome. So you signed the deal with Esri, and you have the Dragon's Den, which gives you some extra promotion. And I'm hoping that opened up more doors for more customer growth through those connections, right?
For the kind of 2.5 years after that,
Yeah.
we could start. I mean, it started going less and less, but we could see a spike in our analytics anytime that episode aired again.
Right.
Which was kind of exciting. And,
Sure.
it was kind of funny to see that this is still bringing something in.
Yeah.
I think someone estimated at some point that a Dragon's Den episode is worth like $1 million in marketing or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was
have you found that to be true? More or less?
maybe not $1 million, but it was
Okay.
definitely worth something.
Yeah,
Okay.
$1 million spent at the right time for a company can really explode it. But if you're
Yeah.
spending $1 million and you're not really ready to, take off yet, then
Yeah.
who knows, right?
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
what are you guys doing now? How many employees? You were at 5, and now
We've got about 22 right now.
Excellent.
And we've got, I want to say, around 40 customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of spaces are you dealing with customer-wise? So you already mentioned you have some malls that
Yeah.
you're working with.
The majority would be shopping centers, but we've done hotels, we've done hospitals, conferences. We've also done campuses and universities.
Okay.
Like we've done a lot of work for University of Waterloo. We've got their entire campus on our mobile app,
Okay.
but we've also got in the Fed's Student Life Center, we've got 2 kiosks. I think they're awaiting a third one that's
Wow.
going to be set up in there, and they've got all of the events going on in all the different rooms around the SLC.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And we've seen you at Conestoga College too,
Yep.
around the
Yeah, we're in
campus there. Very cool. Now, could you just name, are there a few that we might recognize if we were to, hotel-wise or different places that if we were to walk in, we'd see your stuff?
Yeah,
Just for people who are listening to keep an eye out for your
sure. Well,
gear.
some
in
of
case the
stuff,
Donald's listening.
Yeah.
some of the stuff that'll be launched very soon are
Okay.
like Yorkdale Mall, Square One Mall.
Okay.
Those
Wow.
are both static directories.
Yeah.
So those are ones where you can't actually go up and touch it, but it does kind of serve the same purpose in the sense that they can update anything and it'll be updated on what used to be a piece of paper that would take a month to update will be updated in a matter
Right
of
away.
minutes.
Right.
I did when you gave us the tour earlier. One of the things that was interesting to me was you talked about theming, and you could put sort of the Christmas theme on the mall at Christmas, and
Yeah.
then you had a very plain one here that you showed us. So that was really
Yeah.
neat that you could sort of theme it differently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
and
those
we do-
packages, or is that a monetization thing, or is that just included when you sign up?
Right now, a lot of the out-of-the-box stuff is what we're working on. So the themability, which components we want people to be able to choose.
Yeah.
And some of those eventually we will charge for. What we've done a lot of, since it's been mostly early adopters, as I was saying before, the market's really changed
Yeah.
from when we started to where it is now.
Right.
So a lot of people before, a lot of venues were buying much more custom interfaces. They would have a clear idea already of what they were looking for because
Right.
that's people who are early adopters are usually searching for something specific.
Right.
Whereas now there's kind of like this standard solution that everyone has in mind.
Right, right.
And so we're able to deliver that very inexpensively. And then, hopefully you'd like to buy some of the additional components that come with it.
And I'm
so
assu-
then,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, please.
No. Well, I was just going to say, I'm assuming through working with now up to 40 customers, you guys have been able to develop a kind of a standard solution that would work for the majority of people, both in your kind of user interface layout as well as the design of the hardware and all that stuff. I mean,
Exactly.
Is that accurate to say? Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through all kinds of iterations to both the software and the hardware.
Right.
We've worked with different partners on the hardware side. We've got some that we're pretty happy with now. And we've done, quite a bit of work on the interface, and we've gone through a lot of iterations since the first 3 in the 2 or 3 months we stayed at Conestoga Mall. So.
Sure. Are you still having people go and sit in some of these locations and just watch how people use the devices?
Yeah, actually, the whole development team took a field trip to Conestoga Mall.
Okay.
I think 2 weeks ago, and they went and they watched people use it. I think they might have even followed a few people around
To see how well it
just
works.
to see if it worked. Yeah,
That makes for some awkward conversations, right? Didn't I see you at the Mapped-In kiosk? No.
I'm
Yeah.
not a stalker. I'm a developer.
I just happened to be looking at the same shoes.
Yes, that's right.
Did you find what you're looking for?
That's right. Eh?
Your little stopwatch. Bleep.
Well, it'd be neat to see how many people use that, like, send it to my phone feature, right?
Right.
Using the app and stuff too. But no, that's very cool. So
When we saw the
yeah.
when we got the tour, we sort of had a development section, ops, and then sales. Do you have like a graphic design or sort of high level? Is that
UX?
UI UX stuff, or is that just in your development team that somebody's sort of looking at that for you?
It's split between the development team and the mapping team.
Okay, the mapping
So
team, right?
the mapping team will deal with anything to do with, how readable is this map? What way should I present this data? And so it's headed by someone who has a degree in GIS. And
what does GIS stand
it's
for?
I'm going to get this wrong, but I think it's Geographical Information Studies.
Okay, yes, and we actually know somebody that was on the podcast that has that.
We do?
Yes, but he didn't join us, and I can't remember his name, of course, so I'm glad I brought it up now.
Listen for a future episode where
we
come back
update
to
you
Stephen and
on who
we'll
that was,
remember. Yes, excellent. Sorry, were we done on that? What were you saying about that?
I've completely embarrassed that I can't remember what this gentleman's name is. So.
The designers are split between that team, where it's a lot of 3D design, it's a lot of conceptualizing maps and information design.
Yep.
And then there's also the kind of UX design and interface design that happens on the development team as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, I remarked earlier that you guys seem to have a very young group of people here, in mid-20s. I don't think I saw anybody above 30.
The sales team is out right now. So.
Oh, okay. Are there some older people on the sales team?
I don't want to say older.
More developed,
I
more
didn't
mature.
say old people, but more experienced.
Those 30-year-olds, they're really...
But I find it very interesting because I'm always amazed when you have like people who are seemingly just like a few years out of school, but running a company that is now 40 customers and you doing business in multiple cities all over the place. Like it seems like a lot of responsibility to kind of shoulder for people who might not have might only have 2 or 3 years of experience after graduating. Like, do you find that? I don't know, what's the best way to ask this? How do you find that trade-off between, people who might have 10 or 15 years of experience versus people who are kind of fresh and new and, full of new ideas coming right out of school? Like, you seem to have gone more in the one way or the other. So maybe my question is like, what's the rationale behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rationale behind the way that we built the team. A big part of it is culture.
Sure.
A lot of people here have been recommended or have been friends before they joined the company. That's been huge, especially when we were a much smaller team. I think also part of it is that our director of engineering is he's older than the rest of the engineering team, and he's able to see, these are the ways that things should look, these are the ways that these processes should work, and he's also able to talk to IT teams at much larger companies that are expecting to talk to someone who isn't 20, 25 years old.
Sure.
So that's been really good. At the same time, I think he challenges his team and his team challenges him in all kinds of different ways, and I think that we're really looking to change something. Like we're really looking to change an IT strategy or a venue strategy that has existed for a long time. So
you
I
guys
think
sort of consider yourself disruptive then?
I was trying as much as possible to
not
avoid
to use the buzzword,
word disruptive, but that's probably the best way to put it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and young people are oftentimes better at disrupting stuff. Just ask my 5-year-old.
Thank you. And I'd like to go back and give a shout out to Jim Robeson from Pinpoint and his co-founder, Adam Sanders.
Right.
Who holds a GIS, I believe.
Oh, you finally remember.
So, yes, I went there, and it was in my notes, actually. He works for he's studying with the facility or the faculty of the environment.
Right.
So, hey, Adam. Sorry for forgetting about you.
Right. I heard that episode. I should have known that, too.
Yeah.
There you go. I recorded that episode. I should have remembered as well. But,
thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, no problem. It all blends together after a while here. Crazy. So you have a team of 22. It looks like you're taking over the whole floor here just about of this office building that you guys are on.
I really like the synergy because you've done some premeditated planning that was very smart and expanding into a space, and then you've got some tenants in that are sort of canoeing in the canoe and paddling in the same direction as you are, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we've got a group called Oculus in here, which we call our value-added tenants.
Yep.
Right.
So we've got this whole half of the building that we're working in right now. We moved from a much smaller office, actually on the 6th floor, so almost just beneath this area. Actually,
well, you're moving on up.
Exactly. So we outgrew that in 6-7 months, pretty quick.
That is fast.
And then we moved into this space, and we wanted to get a space that was bigger than we needed, but that had some separation. So we're actually on the Oculus side right now, but we share our meeting rooms with them.
Right.
And so this is the kind of Oculus side of the office. They've got about 15 people here.
Sure.
So it's room for us to grow eventually if we need it.
And we should specify that they're not connected to like the Oculus Rift in
No.
the VR space. They're a
No.
different startup, a medical-based startup. Yes. That's,
And value-added
yeah.
tenant is much better than a canoe paddler.
Right.
I must say.
Right, but you had to fulfill your obligation
Yes.
for one obscure analogy.
The metaphor
in each
has
podcast.
been
Yeah, so-
has been obtained. So.
No, that's perfect. Awesome. So you guys had some crazy growth. Does it look like that growth is going to continue?
We're going 8th floor next month or what?
Yeah,
Well, we could buy the other half of the building.
yeah.
That'd be
There you
cool.
go. Of the floor.
Of the
right?
floor,
Yeah,
sorry.
not the whole building.
Maybe the building. Build a slide through the whole thing.
Sure.
Then you can get a slide if you have 2 floors, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's
Yeah.
what Google did at Communitech.
They
right?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a slide,
Like a
man. It's a
tenant.
rite of passage into success here. But does it look like the success is on track to continue in that direction? I guess it would be ridiculous to say no, but
It definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely on track to continue.
Yeah.
At the same time, I mean, a lot of the gaps that we've seen, the things that we've seen as immediate needs, have been filled,
awesome.
and so that's we've really reached a point that we were hoping for,
Sure.
and it feels great to be there right now.
And I'm guessing, having a wider presence in these other malls and other venues is only going to serve to increase your marketing potential to bring in new customers because more and more people will be interacting with your products, right? So,
New customers and a lot of the projects that we've seen this year have been pilots.
right.
And so if we do well on these pilots, and I mean, we tend to do well, we've never lost a customer.
Wow.
If we do well on these
No
pilots.
pun intended, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've never lost a customer.
Nice one.
I like that.
Nice one, Steven.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just enjoyed it, really.
Yeah,
That's all I
no,
did.
it's good. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to do well. And if we do well on these, then there are many more coming, even from the same customers.
Sure. And when you say pilot projects, are you exploring other product kind of possibilities or just expanding your existing kind of product offerings, or how does that look?
I think one of the most exciting things we're looking at right now is leasing.
Okay.
So in the same way that you're going to need a list of locations and possibly events going on for a marketing manager or a mall manager or even an IT department, you're also going to need similar sets of data for a leasing manager. But a leasing manager is going to care about vacancies, and they're going to care about which types of locations traditionally did well in that vacancy. The other thing that's really interesting is that the data that we generate from our kiosks and mobile apps is extremely valuable when you're actually going out to sell a space within your venue.
Right.
So, you can say, hey, lots of people who enter, there's a vacancy at the north parking lot of our venue. Lots of people who enter from the north parking lot in this venue are looking for high fashion.
Right.
And there are 3 other high fashion locations. All of them are doing this well. This is your proximity to them actually on a micro level.
Right.
Within the venue, this is your proximity to them.
Yeah.
And
I
this
always
is all
enter the
stuff
mall
that,
through the south, I think. I'm never looking for high fashion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, but that's cool. So you can use that data to kind of sell that space to say you have a very high chance of success if you put your retail outlet in this spot, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, then once you've sold the space, the marketing manager or mall manager can then see that, and then they can schedule it for when the venue or the tenant moves in. It'll just be
Sure.
updated on the directory.
And it
Yeah,
sound-
Pinpoint was doing something similar
Well, I was
to
going
that,
to say,
right?
it sounds
They
like it
were,
crosses over a little into Pinpoint where they would use that sort of data as part of their platform as well, right? So
And it almost
interesting
becomes like
synergies.
if you don't have that, then you're out of the game, right? Like if you're looking to open up your new Tim Hortons and you go to the mall and they say, look, here's the
Yeah.
stats. And then somebody else goes, well, I don't know. It's a really nice place.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, I need, so you
Need
have
the-
to be in
the
that
data.
game, right?
Yeah, so the mall is actually in kind of a similar game to Pinpoint in the sense that they deliver Environics or similar platform of analytics.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what Pinpoint is built off of right now.
Yep.
So, they want to deliver that type of psychometric data and all of that. It's really good and it's working right now, but we think it can work even better for places that are so constrained, like a mall,
Yeah.
because you can actually look at how is just one person walking around.
Right.
And so rather than working backwards from a postal code and estimating this person's value or this person's how many kids do they have, how many cars do they have.
Yeah, some
how many
survey
pets.
where I've said,
Yeah.
I go to the mall twice a year, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
actually at the mall
Yeah.
looking at the directions.
And
so
you
that-
can measure their behavior inside that space.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense.
So instead, just looking at the behavior of one person, and this is something that we've seen on the web as well. Analytics that focus on the path of one person work really well in tandem with analytics that focus on the general picture.
Right. Amazing.
Micro to macro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
reverse.
Wow. So it sounds like there are a lot of kind of opportunities that you're just kind of scratching the surface of now that could still be opened up a lot more moving forward. Yeah.
There's so much that makes sense and that could be made easier
Right.
by this kind of digital model of a venue.
Sure.
And there are so many people already within the venue or within the building who work from maps
Right.
most of the day, and they visualize, when they're not working with maps, they're visualizing the information they're reading about in the form of a map of proximity and distance and all of that.
I'm waiting for you guys
yeah.
to pivot from sort of just directions to actual roller coasters so I can get to the mall, sit in a personalized roller coaster, type in shoes, and then I'm there.
Well, the Google self-driving cars are coming, so they can at least get you to the mall without you
That's
having
true.
to do too much.
And then straight
Once
into
you're
the
there,
MappedIn
you're
roller
gonna have
coaster.
yeah,
I'm
something
there.
like that.
And then just swipe my card as I go by.
Yeah, you can. It all be window shopping.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I might want to go to the mall then.
There you
Drive-by
go.
shopping.
That's true.
Yeah, perfect. So if this sounds like it was just cut in out of nowhere, it's because we forgot to do the lightning round before we stopped recording. So
We
we're
got
just-
lost in our sea of podcasting and
Yeah, the
needed some
conversation.
directions back to our lightning round.
Yes,
which were
exactly.
provided by MappedIn.
You need a big
so thank you,
square
Victor.
on your notes that
I
says
do.
remember to do the lightning
Remember
round.
the lightning round. I do have the questions right here on my notes, but so if you're listening to this just kind of chunked into the middle of the conversation and it sounds really awkward, that's why. But anyway, we're going to throw some lightning round questions at you here, Mitchell, and see how you do. Sound effects. Awesome. Thanks, man.
I think that was my best one yet.
So first, give one piece of advice for new startups in 5 words or less.
He's
Doing some
counting his
hard
numbers.
thinking, yeah.
Yes.
I would say struggle comes before a breakthrough.
Struggle comes before breakthrough. Good. 4 words. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I like that one.
Steven?
So I'm paying for 3 top-notch employees for you tomorrow. Who are you hiring?
Sales, marketing, and CFO.
Okay.
Excellent. You guys
Chief
got enough
Financial
developers?
Officer?
That's good. Yeah.
We've got a lot of developers right now.
Okay.
And we're moving fast. I think we're moving faster than the market. So
All right.
we need the market to catch up. So sales and marketing is right where it's at.
Awesome.
Excellent. My question is, what is one startup skill that you feel you need to get better at?
I think speaking in front of a big group.
Okay. You seem to speak well in front of us, but we're not that big a group, but okay.
If there were 10 more of you.
Okay.
You're
Sounds
speaking
good.
to the army of millions out there.
That's
What's
it.
the biggest hurdle that you've had to date so far to have to jump?
I guess it would have been trying to get our first customer if we weren't so lucky with the VVF. I guess it's, the kind of difference between a long sales cycle and developers who are used to iterating very fast. And the difference between, IT departments who are kind of stuck in a very specific way of thinking, and the whole move fast, break things mentality that startup is about. So
Yep.
being a B2B startup is difficult, I think.
So kind of meshing those two worlds, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. What is one startup skill that you feel that you've mastered at this point?
I think I'm too young to have mastered anything, but
Or that you've gotten pretty good at?
yeah, I think in terms of getting pretty good at, I think coming up with a plan or a solution to something that everyone feels comfortable saying yes to.
Okay. That's a good one to have, actually.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm really wanting to ask you how you start your Nerf arsenal, like how you decide what guns you buy at the beginning and stuff like that. But I'm not going to do that. What drives you every day? So you get up, you're leading this huge team, you're coming up here to the 6th, 7th/8th floor. You're talking about building slides. Like, what's your motivation every day?
I think, the thing that we want to see as a group or as a team is just to enact the biggest change in the market, to have the biggest if you can excuse the buzzword disruption
Right.
in the market. And, we want to move things around and shake things up. And I think that's why having such a young team is to our benefit.
So you're an iconoclast.
To some degree, sure.
Cool.
There you go. My last question is, what is the first purchase you guys are going to make after you get your big buyout?
As a company?
No. You yourself.
Me,
When the company is bought out or IPOs or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I would get a house.
Yeah?
Yeah.
House is always nice.
Yep. With a Nerf gun security system.
Yeah, sure. And Steven,
Perfect.
did you have a last one? You want to throw it in?
So you have the power to change one thing in the world. What are you going to change?
Education.
Interesting. That didn't take a lot of thought. That came pretty quick.
Yeah.
Why would you change education?
I think it's the quickest way to change everything.
Okay.
So do you think it's broken, or you just want to add more education, or what would you?
I think on this side of the world, it's not as good as it could be, but it's pretty great. And on in developing countries, I think better education is probably the quickest way, and more open education
Right.
is probably the quickest way to change things.
You guys have had some success with some co-op students, I understand.
Sure.
He says as a co-op student himself.
I agree, though, because many places where there's a lot of oppression and a lot of lower kind of standards of living, it's education that kind of gets knocked out of the mix early, right?
And we can't pretend that we know the solution to every problem, but as a group, if we're all educated and we all know, can come at everything from a different direction,
Sure.
then maybe there are some solutions we can figure out.
Awesome.
I like that.
Yeah. And the bonus question, which maybe you're prepared for because you've heard some of our podcasts before, toilet paper, fold or scrunch?
Yes, this one I am prepared for.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna write down my guess here before you. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
I didn't know until I started listening to this.
Yeah, to figure out.
Yeah.
But fold.
Fold. Excellent. Love having another one in the fold.
I got it wrong.
Did you guess scrunch?
Yeah, I went S.
That's too bad.
Oh well.
What can you do?
You can't win them all.
No.
And actually, I'm okay with not knowing that.
Awesome. Well, listen, before we wrap up, where can we find you guys? I'm assuming you have a website, a Twitter account, some of these other social networking things?
Yeah, so probably in order of how often we update for the company. The website is mappedin.com or .ca.
All right.
MappedIn. And then we're mapped in everywhere else. So LinkedIn is probably the most up to date, though it's not that up to date.
Yeah.
Then Twitter, I would say.
And it's just at MappedIn on Twitter?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And Facebook, you say you guys are on there too?
It's just, you could go to fb.com/mappedin.
Okay. Awesome. So we'll post some links to those places when we put up the podcast. People can find you guys. Is there any particular type of customer or user that you're looking for, or just anyone and everyone?
Customers, anyone easy to work with.
Okay, as long as you're not a jerk.
Or with a budget they can work with.
Okay.
Anybody open to directions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Users, anyone who's looking to find interesting things and not get lost.
Awesome. That sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. Well, let's wrap things up here then, guys. So first of all, special thanks to our guest, Mr. Mitchell Butler from MappedIn. Thank you for allowing us to come into your wonderful orange space and record here with you guys.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, our pleasure. We want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us on another episode of TSP Weekly. Please feel free to send us your comments, your questions, criticism, feedback. You can reach us at our email address, feedback@tspweekly.com, or send us a message on Twitter. Our Twitter handle. I can never say Twitter handle. I mess that up every time. It's a tongue twister. Our Twitter handle is TSP Weekly. So, from myself, Darren Conley, my co-host Stephen Campbell, and our guest, Mitchell Butler from MappedIn, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you all again next week.